All right, everyone, you're welcome to this episode of concerning homosexuals and solosexuals. But in this episode, I'm going to be enlightening us and giving us information and majoring on the homosexuals because that's what I wrote about in a recent book, Beyond Romeo and Juliet. So there are a lot of things to learn, coupled with the fact that I'm privileged to be a science student and not just a pastor. I can actually see this issue in two different sides and bring to you various conclusions on how to handle this particular case better, both scientifically and with the outstretched of love, which is the power of God. All right, so firstly, I want us to ask questions in our mind concerning life. Your existence in this life. Sometimes you see a lot of people, they want to blame God for everything. They want to blame God for some various things that happens to them in this world or in this life. And you can't blame God for everything that happens to you. There have been principles that have been set in this world for things to come to play or to come into existence through them. So just like, for example, now you cannot expect someone to get pregnant without having sexual relationship. So you cannot, just like for example, there's a window for a woman getting pregnant, which is called ovulation period. That ovulation period is a period whereby you are going to see that the woman is going to produce egg in her ovary, and when spermatozoa come in contact with that egg, then it will now result into a baby. So it therefore means that if there is no ovulation, there will not be pregnancy. It's just God's way. It's God that designed it to be like that. It's God's way of putting things in place in our world. So you can't blame God for not allowing you conceive if you are not ovulating, or let's put it properly, if there's no sexual relationship occurring. So I can also say this, that you see a lot of people trying to blame God for one or two sickness that they're experiencing in their life. A sickle cell person should not try to blame God for making you a sickle cell. Sometimes you just have to reach out to your parents and ask them questions about why they have to get married, without running some tests on their blood group or tests on their genotype. That kind of scientific approach towards life is still God's way of easing us of some certain burdens and some certain stress in life. So before you blame God and before you are against God because of whatever you are going through, check out some principles that have been violated in your world that have resulted into whatsoever you're actually going through. So God is not responsible for genetic disorderliness, neither is he responsible for a lot of hereditary disorderliness, because there are certain things we call traits, which carries genes, certain informations that are passed down from your mom and your dad to you. Like a boy now that is given birth to by the parents, you have a lot of things that are being passed down to you. I'm trying to be more simple in my communication. So there are some certain informations that are being passed down to you from your dad and from your mom that makes you who you are. So therefore, the genesis, aside peer pressure and some certain influence that can actually result into sexual crisis, and that can actually result into a lot of crises like we can mention in our world today. It all boils down into genes. I mean, informations we receive from our parents. You are going to see that in our world today. You are going to see some folks, they call them tomboy, and these are girls, they are girls, but yet they call them tomboy because they are acting like, they're acting like male. You see female people acting like male, you see male guys acting like female. And it all boils down into some certain set of information that they receive by birth. Some certain set of information that they receive by birth. So some sexual orientation issues are not just by influence, like I said, from peer pressure, but some are by genetic disorders. There's something we call hormones in the body, and I think I explained it well in our book in the word not of pardon me, I like saying the book in the word not of the word, but I think I explained it in the book Beyond Romeo and Juliet. Maybe you should also get the book in the word not of the word, so that you can learn more about how to do ministry. One of our our recent book. You can get that to learn more about how to do ministry, not just on campus as a minister of the gospel, things you are going to put your attention to, for you to actually do a successful or have an effective ministerial life. All right. So, there are a lot of things that can happen to a man, that, like I said, there's something we call hormone. And I don't want to assume everybody listening to me are science students. Some of us are commercial students, some of us are art students. But I want you to see that hormone as a feeling. I mean, what makes you who you are? What makes you do what you do? What is responsible for the way you act, the way you act? Do you understand what I'm saying now? So we have a lot of guys that born by their mom, and they are going to have a lot of chromosomes that are being passed down to them, from their mom side, which will make them start now acting like mommy. You understand? This is not their fault. You understand what I'm saying? These are just some genetic disorderliness that can happen to them even from childbirth. But if you want to have a lot of information concerning what I'm talking about now, concerning this, you can purchase that book, Beyond Romeo and Juliet. In the chapter 1, I asked a question. I said, sexual orientation, is it a reason to be single? Is sexual orientation a reason to be single? So I asked that question in that particular place. All right, now, before we can deal with this issue, we must understand the root problem of this issue. And I want you to see this issue as I categorize this issue in three areas. I call it a psychological disorderliness. Psychological disorderliness. I also call it hormonal disorderliness, psychological disorderliness, and I also refer you to be peer influence or influence generally. And at the base of it all, it is there is a finger of the devil which is trying to capitalize on some areas that are needed to be fixed in the life of human. So devil, that's the way the devil works. He uses whatever is available, he rides on the transport that is available to get whatever he wants to get, done at all costs. So the devil can use somebody feeling, to have them. He can use your feeling to have you. So that feeling that you have, you're a man, but you are feeling like a female. You don't. I've seen somebody tell me, say, a man telling me, say, I don't have feeling for my fellow, I don't have feeling for sisters. I only have feeling for for fellow man. And these feelings are not they exist, but they are wrong. These feelings, and I'm saying that hormones are part of the reason why you feel like that. Do you understand what I'm saying now? And there can also be psychological disorderliness that can, cause that to also happen, whereby you can also have peer influence and peer pressure, influence general, like I said. But I said, in the midst of all of these disorderliness, I said there is the finger of the devil working behind the scene. That's why, even though I'm a science student, all of those things, I'm a pastor, and I must also see that devil is capitalizing on people's emotion. Devil is capitalizing on people's feeling. Devil is manipulating people's emotion, is manipulating their emotions, and is manipulating their feelings. So we cannot close our eyes to this. We can't close our eyes to it. And now, pay attention. When God created man, Bible says He that created them in the beginning created them male and female. Not male and female, not female and female. God created them male and female. So meaning that when God will now define sexual relationship, of course within marriage institution, he defined it to be that a male and a female are going to marry together. Now for them to procreate, they are going to exchange sexual fantasies. I get what I'm saying now? So it is God that designed sex. Sex is not evil. Sex is of God. But where God designed sex to happen, it is within a marriage institution. Now let me say this to you. You see, we have a lot of people on the outside there who are not, they're not gay, they're not lesbians. They're not gay, they're not lesbians. But they are walking in adultery, they are walking in fornication. I want to say it to you. Before you judge people that are actually, all of you in togetherness, you are all committing sexual sin. somebody who is having sexual relationship with fellow men, a man who is having sexual relationship with fellow man, a woman having sexual relationship with fellow man, is also in the same category with adult people working in adultery and people working in fornication. Why? Because they are all categorized as what? Sexual sin. The last time I was telling us that, when you look at sins like lie, stealing, all of those things, they are also sins. Do you understand? So don't let us try to magnify a kind of sin. By magnifying a kind of sin, we give the devil more chance to do whatsoever he wants to do. So homosexuality should not be magnified. I get what I'm saying now. It is something, it's a disorderliness that can be worked with and can be worked upon. How we can gain victory, in our fight against it. And I told you last time, I said our fight against it is not to declare crusade. Rather, our fight against it is to, extend our hand of love, outstretched arm of love to them. Do you understand what I'm saying now? All right, so as we continue in this, we must also understand that the way God designed sexual relationship is within male and female and within marriage institution. I said that the other time. And that anyone that is having sex outside of marriage is committing the same sin as those that are, having sexual orientation issue. Do you understand? They're all committing sexual sins. There are also this set of folks that choose to also live by feelings, identifying with their feeling rather than what God calls them. Now, it is one thing to have wrong sexual taste. It's another thing to have or deny your gender. A lot of us, we don't really understand the difference between a transgender or people that are having gender crisis and people that are having sexual crisis. They are different, but you see, we can have someone who identify and say, you were given birth to, and you identify by your genitals, because somebody's asking, how are we now going to know if I'm a male? How are we going to know if I'm a female? That's why God is wise. The way God designed it is that by your genitals, you are going to know who you are. I get what I'm saying now. By your genitals, is either by having the male genitals or by having the female genitals. That's how you are going to be defined if you are a male or if you are a female. So if you are having the male genital, you are a man. But if you are having feelings in your mind and you are acting like a lady, it therefore means that there is now a necessity that is laid upon you to live beyond that feeling. So we are not designed by God to live by our feelings. Is I don't feel like it. No. No. So once you are not feeling like it, there are a lot of measures we can take, which I explained so much in that book, that can restore your feelings. I tell you, if you read the book, it's going to bless you a lot. There are a lot of measures you can take that can restore your feelings, because if it is about feelings can be restored. I get what I'm saying now. So don't try to say, okay, let me go and do a surgical balance to my feeling. No, you won't do a surgical balance to your feelings. Doing a surgical balance to your feeling is you altering what God has created in you, is you altering the orderliness of creation, and it's a sin in itself. So I'm saying that there's a difference between somebody having gender crisis and somebody having sexual crisis. Those who have sexual crisis are those who are having sexual relationship outside of their outside of the right kind of way God has designed them to have it within a marriage institution. Don't forget that word, within a marriage institution. Whereas we also have those who are having gender crisis. Somebody saying, I identify as a, and I hear that people are now identifying even as both. So people are now identifying even as calendars, as people are identifying with different kind of things. And it's well. But I believe God. I believe that there can be a change in their life. Do you understand what I'm saying now? So I believe that one of the major reasons that somebody can say I identify as a man because he's a woman, but he's saying I identify as a man. One of those reasons is because of their feeling. They are not feeling their genitals. I get what I'm saying now. They're not feeling, a man is not feeling like a man. A woman is not feeling like a woman. He's feeling otherwise. So he says, let me identify with my feeling. And like I said to us, God did not design us on earth to identify with our feelings. Rather, he created us so that we can identify with what he himself calls us. So beyond your feeling, you must be able to identify with what God calls you, what the doctor identify you with by genitals, even from birth. Hope you are following me. So you are not designed to have crisis in your gender view. I get what I'm saying. So what are those gender crises? They call themselves, I think, transgenders. They call them transgenders. People say, okay, I want to change who I am. I want to identify with another kind of sex, and I think it's even now beyond male and female now. I even heard that there's some folks who identify with either male or female part-time. Imagine identifying with either male or female part-time. So they change in their identification. That means you are living by feelings, but that's not the way God has designed you to eventually live. So I call all of this, I call it crisis. You are having crisis in your life, but I feel like those crises, and I know so well, can be fixed if you allow yourself to be fixed. Amen. So now no one has the right to identify with whatever they feel like, but with what they ought to be called. As I said, genitals are a major material that tells us who a person is. So don't go and change your genital to another thing entirely because you are not feeling like the genital. How you know what I'm saying? Now, if you do that, you are going against the orderliness of the humanity that God has created you to be. So I talked about hormones. How that hormones can now play tricks on that your body. Hormones will now begin to play tricks on your body. Hormones will tell you, you are acting like a female, you're acting like a man. Now that you're acting like a female, you're acting like a man. Now your genital is not in correspondence with what you're acting like. Can you now correct your genital? No, you don't do that. I can say now, you can't do that. It doesn't solve anything. I'm saying that your feelings can be restored. As I'm emphatic on you getting. Now, this is not an advertisement strategy, but I know that book is a book that is going to change your life for good. It's going to blow you up. It's going to help your life. There's a lot of practical steps that you can take that can help you to come out of that feeling. So it can be corrected. That your crisis can be corrected scientifically. And I think in the book I talked about, since there's a level of hormone that a man can lack that can make him start acting contrary to who he is. There can be a supply of hormone into your body that can restore that. I think I did justice to that even in the book. And also, without any doubt, one of the major tools that can also be used to correct this issue, because I said there's a finger of the devil in all of this, is we trust the power of God. So wherever you are saying, I trust the power of God to actually change lives. I trust the power of God to actually change lives. Praise the Lord. All right, so lastly, before I end this podcast,